All right. So look, this redistricting thing, it's not a surprise the Republicans are doing this. I would say the bigger surprise is that we're seeing the Democratic Party. And again, this is just a pure partisan fight. There's no ideological issues associated with this. This is just, are you going to participate in politics in the way that it comes at you or not? And the Democrats at this point have what appears to have done is step up. 51 out of 60, at least 51 out of 60 Democrats in the Texas State House have left the state, denying Republicans quorum, so they cannot go forward with this special session to do a mid-census redistricting that would, at least in the hopes of Republicans, give them an extra 5 seats out of their state. Now, that bet that Republicans would be making is a little dicey because they're counting on the same numbers that they saw in 2024 will show up in 2026. And that is never a guarantee.
But also it's not a guarantee, especially with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, because we've now seen 3 presidential election cycles where he is able to get many more voters out, low propensity voters, in the way that the Republican Party is unable to in off-year elections. So even this is a gamble for the Republicans because if they would be gerrymandering, some of these districts are pinker as opposed to deep red because of how aggressively Texas is already gerrymandered. And this is Trump from the top making this decree as opposed to like the Texas Republicans even kind of coming to it themselves.
And the question is, why are Republicans pushing this so hard? Well, because it's an off-year election. The party out of power tends to win. But they're not just looking at Texas. J.D. Vance has flown to Indiana, hoping to get 1 seat there. They're looking at Ohio, I think maybe Tennessee. And here is a prime example of the problem that Republicans have with this off-year election. It's not just the secular, generic party out of power. We haven't seen much of this because Republicans are not going to town halls. And if they were, we would be seeing a lot more of this. They are terrified. They are terrified quietly, though, because there's not many examples. But Mike Flood, elected in 2022 in Lincoln, Nebraska, he's not afraid. And he showed up at his town hall last night. This is Lincoln, Nebraska. There are 750 to 1,000 people in this theater where he's having a town hall. And I don't know, my experience, if Lincoln, Nebraska is this well organized with Democrats, then I think Democrats are doing quite a good job because it's not the first states that they would be doing this in. So it gives you a sense of the anger that exists out there towards Republican lawmakers. It's just that we don't see it because they don't expose themselves to their voters.
We have a next question right here.
My question is fiscal. With $450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and $600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
Americans went to the polls in November, and they had a choice between a Democratic candidate that had an open border, no enforcement, fentanyl, drugs, human trafficking. And they had a choice between that and a candidate that said, close the border, get illegal immigrants out of our country, stop the fentanyl, stop the human trafficking, stop the drugs, stop the crime, stop the violence. That's what Americans voted for. Americans voted for a border that is secure. And I support the president enforcing our immigration laws, which, by the way,
our immigration laws?
He's losing it.
He's losing it a little bit.
Did you also see the part about healthcare? We have that in there.
Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
That's probably full of a bunch of like Brooklyn hipsters
Sure.
going down to Lincoln, Nebraska and getting super Brooklyn hipstery. Let's play the next one. This is regarding healthcare.
Yes. This was also incredible and also shows how much, frankly, Democrats are leaving on the table by not coalescing around a healthcare agenda that isn't just what the Republicans are doing is bad. Because listen to this this just fury in the crowd, but also how these old Republican talking points about healthcare being a privilege for the employed have just completely dissipated and also really engendered a lot of anger in the population.
Medicaid program. One of those changes is that if you are able to work and you are able-bodied, you have to work. If you choose not to work, you do not get free health care. You do not get free health care. Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old...
Pause it for 1 second. He's going to say, do you think that people who are 28 years old should get free health care? Now, let's be clear. This is a canard because we have seen two examples, Georgia and Arkansas, that have done work requirements. And all it does is it ends up driving people off of Medicaid who are perfectly eligible. However, the bureaucratic hurdles are designed to keep them off. Their ability to sort of like have to constantly update on how they work. I mean, have you ever been late for your insurance premium payment? Have you ever been late for have you ever been exhausted by the amount of work you had to file with your insurance to get reimbursed? Now multiply that times 5 or 10 for somebody who is actually working and struggling to have time to do these type of things. So the scenario he's setting up is false, A. And B, this R plus 10 district, not necessarily with their talking program.
Do not get free health care. Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care? I don't think that a majority of Nebraskans agree with you.
Oh, well.
Can I rephrase? Do you think America should be the only country that uses the cudgel of you get health care or not to drive people to labor, which is what this is about?
Well, and let's also be clear. The real question is, do you think that this 28-year-old should be prevented from getting health care at the cost of 5 times that one person to lose their health care? Because that's what studies show happens. That it's maybe even higher than 5 times. That's what studies show happen in the real world. We have data on this. And we'll have more data. There's a reason why 14 million people are going to lose their Medicaid, and it's not because they're not working. Well, it's because of the requirements that are going to be imposed and the hurdles are going to be posed to getting the health care.
But the only way people could not see the salience of an argument for free healthcare for people, regardless of whether or not they're employed, is if you're somebody that has never had to deal with an insurance company that you couldn't, or a claim that you couldn't pay for before. I mean, the amount of time that people spend on the phone with health insurance companies to try to get something paid for, a procedure or health care paid for, that they already have felt that they've been paying into on a monthly basis, and that they have been with their insurance, let alone folks like the millions of people that are going to lose Medicaid coverage. I mean, I think 80 million people, when you add Medicaid and CHIP together, rely on this, because we also don't force many of these employers to guarantee health care for their workers. So it's not just people who are these 28-year-olds in the basement or anybody that's unemployed. Everybody that has experienced our healthcare system can empathize with that perspective.
Healthcare should be a human right.
And then here is the question put in another way. Like, okay, do you even have a plan for providing healthcare that people can afford?
About this.
I'm sorry? Okay.
I know you've talked a little bit about this, but what plans does the Congress have for providing reasonable cost health insurance to Nebraskans?
Well, one of the ways to bring down our commercial private payer insurance is to not have as many people on Medicaid. Because what happens? Medicaid pays a much lower reimbursement rate than a commercial payer does. And so when there's a difference between those two, the commercial payer ends up paying more and more and more to make up for the difference. Money does not fall out of the sky. It does not grow on trees. It comes from all of you. And you pay your health insurance. I wish there was a world we could live in where everything came from the government and it was free.
All right, pause it.
But that will never...
Pause it. The increases to private insurance are going to be the biggest one-time increases we have seen, I think, probably in close to a decade. And it is because they are ramping up, because the subsidies were cut for the ACA. In many respects, they did their repeal of Obamacare in the big, beautiful bill. And B, it's not like these people who are not getting Medicaid are going to somehow evaporate into thin air. They're going to get sick at the exact same rate as they got sick before. Except for this time, they're not going to have a doctor. And this time, they're not going to have any preventative care. And so they're going to go into the ER. So everything he's talking about, in addition to it not being the case that insurance companies have that much elasticity, insurance companies go to state regulators, ask for a rate increase based upon their pool. Hospital rates are all over the place. They just get whatever they can. It's completely opaque. But somebody's going to have to pay when these people go to the emergency room. Somebody's going to have to pay for the diabetes that could have been prevented had they been seeing a doctor on a regular basis. Somebody's going to have to pay for all of this, and that's where the taxpayers pay. I don't know if it's an out-and-out lie, but even the sort of the theory he has
that
is just not the case.
They're going to force more Medicaid recipients into the private insurance pool, and that's going to decrease costs? I thought that's what he was trying to say. No. His argument is that because reimbursement rates for Medicaid are lower than private insurance, that private insurance has had to subsidize Medicaid patients. And his whole theory is predicated that these people are just going to go away. That they're not going to exist anymore, that they're not going to get sick, that they're not going to, it's just a denial of the existence of these people. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. There is no plan to provide any low cost or reasonable cost health insurance for Americans that the Republicans had. They've never had one. The closest was the ACA back, 15 years ago.
This is the system that they want, that you pay your insurance, you pay your private insurance company thing. And it doesn't work. It's not a system that works. So that's why you can't make a coherent defense of it.
Let's go to, what is this number? Let's go to 14. because this is ultimately about the redistricting. And here is the biggest threat that the Democrats have done at this point is they've said that they're going to, actually, let's go to Pritzker. Many of these Texas Democrats have gone to Illinois or to New York to essentially hide out. Texas has no authority to arrest them there and bring them to the state house. And Pritzker has implied, I don't know if he's finding them housing or what. But remember, these Texas state legislators, they only make $600 a month.
Yeah.
And like almost half the staff here makes more than that. And $600 a month. And so they all have day jobs. Many of them have families. So they're going through, this is a difficult time for these people. And here's Pritzker today, this morning. Ken Martin is there. They are talking about essentially what this fight is.
We're here, of course, because Texas House Democrats are demonstrating what it means to fight for the preservation of our constitutional republic. Donald Trump, Governor Abbott, Texas Republicans, well, they know that they're headed toward a loss of the Congress in 2026. They're afraid, and they should be. Because when you try to tear health care away from veterans and seniors, from children and people with disabilities, when you raise tariff taxes on groceries and beer and automobiles, when you let poor and working class families go hungry, when you allow smokestack industries to pollute the air and remove safety standards from food producers, well, all so that you can give a massive tax break to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Ackman, well, frankly, you'd better watch out. You're going to lose your elections. So they've decided that the only way to save themselves is to cheat, to change the rules in the middle of the game. And what do MAGA Republicans in Texas do when Donald Trump ignores, well, his oath of office and theirs, and when they're taking it upon themselves to thwart the will of the American people? Well, they say, when Donald Trump calls, they say, yes, sir. Right away, sir. Happy to lick your boot, sir. When Donald Trump says jump, Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton say, how high? They don't care that they're violating the Voting Rights Act and racially gerrymandering their state. Well, they're hoping they can rob the bank and get away before anyone notices. Texas Republicans are trying to diminish the voting power of their own constituents, and in doing so, diminish the rights of Illinoisans and all Americans. Texas House Democrats are putting their lives on hold and their livelihoods at risk because they don't want to live in a country where the president rigs elections for his side. That's not democracy. That's not America.
He's good. He's good at this, the partisanship element.
I am looking for him ultimately to say to cut taxes for Jeff Bezos, for Elon Musk, for Bill Ackman, and for me, because he's that wealthy too.
You mean cut taxes, raise taxes?
No. He said he was criticizing Trump to cut those taxes. Like, he's got to start acknowledging, because he's not going to be able to hide it when he runs for president.
Right. Well, but that's the angle he could do it if he's smart about it. And if he does run in that way, it would be telling if he avoids that. And that means that this is another status quo guy. But if he wants to do I'll be the FDR guy that will no longer
class
be a billionaire and be the class trader, and I'll take on the bullies, I do think that's a salient political argument for real.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
But it is good to see Democrats now. Gavin Newsom is out there. He has claimed that he will, if Texas does this, we don't need to see a clip of him. If Texas does this, he will call a special legislative session and they will redistrict 5 Republicans out of their office. And they have already studied whether it would be a violation of the Voting Rights Act. Remember, if you have a majority minority district, there are certain numbers based upon the percentage of minorities in a state that they must have a certain amount of representation as per the Voting Rights Act. In Texas, they're going to dispossess people of that. And they feel like, well, we'll deal with the Supreme Court if it ever comes up later. In California, they've studied whether that would be in violation of the Voting Rights Act, and it won't be. So they've got 5 there. In New York, Kathy Hochul's already talking about redistricting 2 if they do this. That's 3 in New York. Here is the 5 or whoever, whatever the Fox show this is. Outnumbered. Sorry.
Is it outnumbered because there's always 4 women flanking an old guy?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
all of them, almost all, have to show their legs?
Exactly.
Yes, it's every man's fantasy.
Totally.
Every 75-year-old man watching this show gets to just like place himself in the middle of this couch.
Put 4 women in their place at the same time.
Good to be
I like
king.
She's She's really sharp.
Oh, tell me more
but
about
here is
Sydney
Kennedy.
Sweeney being a Republican.
Here is more pictures, please, of the young actress. Here is Kennedy, who seemingly does not understand what redistricting applies to.
Right. It's like TDS off the chart.
Yes.
It's all about them versus Trump. And why? Because they're so thirsty politically.
Yeah, but this is why California is a monoparty state. That's why Democrats have a supermajority, and it's like that's why they have two Democrat senators. That's why I have a Democrat governor, and it is such a massive majority because of this type of redistricting,
Pause it
which
for a
is
second.
incredibly insincere.
Oh.
Apparently, she's not aware that there are no districts that impact the Senate races.
Whoopsie.
It's the whole state.
Yeah.
The governor, like the only redistricting that could possibly happen is if you were to actually redraw the lines of the state of California.
Take parts of Nevada.
Yeah, but take only the blue parts of Nevada. And that's how no, the reason why California is a mono-party state is because Republicans shit the bed there years ago with Pete Wilson. Basically killed their chances in that state. It has nothing to do with redistricting. Otherwise, you wouldn't see a Democratic governor and 2 Democratic senators.
And also because part of why the Democratic Party is behind on this is because of states like California dropping the ball and not doing partisan gerrymandering in reaction to the Republicans doing so. That's part of why California is such a central focus, because it would be doing away with the independent redistricting commissions that Democrats have said we're so much better than the Republicans in so many of these states that they've relied on. That's why California is centrally focused here, is because this is like the threat, gerrymandering. It actually
Same with New York.
Yes.
Same with New York. But it's just a stunning amount of ignorance, and nobody seems to catch her on this.
Because she's supposed to be like the liberal.
Oh, she's the...
No, she's not.
She's a libertarian.
She looks like that. I've confused that liberal with her. But
Oh no,
she's
I'm
not
just
that
saying
one.
like she's not a MAGA person.
Oh, she's the reasonable,
Yeah.
intellectual one. You can tell.
She reads
She's
the
got the
she
glasses.
reads the news.
Okay, gotcha.
She's like the MTV Buckley.
Yeah.
Is a monoparty state. That's why Democrats have a supermajority, and it's like that's why they have two Democrat senators. That's why I have a Democrat governor, and it is such a massive majority because of this type of redistricting, which is incredibly insincere. Whenever Republicans start to get a stronghold in a certain part of the state, they carve it apart. Right. I'm not a huge fan of this, and I think that you need to run better candidates if you're worried that your party is out of power, and offer voters better ideas, because this is not a fight. This is cowardice. So if you are expecting your caucus to grow, you're doing it wrong if you're running to another state where the obese governor might eat you.
Wait, what is she even babbling about?
Does she go by one name? Like she's Beyonce or something?
She was an MTV VJ. She really was.
Honestly, I couldn't even make sense of the last part of what she was saying.
I think it was a shot at Pritzker.
Yes.
No, I get the part about the Pritzker thing, but she's seemingly criticizing Abbott for redistricting and not having better candidates to beat these, while blaming Pritzker for enabling the Democrats for stopping Abbott from doing what he's doing.
Right, exactly. Like they instigated this.
And also,
JD Vance is taking trips to Indiana.
Hogan's Heart Doctor says if Democrats already have the power to redistrict and give themselves the edge, why aren't they already not doing it? In California and in New York, Democrats passed legislation to have an independent commission do it. Personally, I think it was naive. And they are now starting to realize it was naive.
Yep.
And so the threat is we're going to have the Democrats. We have the numbers in these states. Despite the fact that we have an independent commission that does the redistricting, we're going to redistrict. And I hope they don't just do it for congressional. I hope they do it for state legislatures.
oh yeah.
I am very much comfortable with no Republican state legislatures or assembly. I'm very comfortable with that idea.
Until there is a Supreme Court case in sometime in the future or a federal mandate and law that there is a all independent committee redistricting in all 50 states, every Democratic state should be responding with gerrymandering. That's it. If Republicans are going to do it, Democrats have to get on this. And it's just funny to me, not so funny, that Democrats talk about when Bernie was running in 2020 and 2016. Oh, what are we going to unilaterally disarm by just taking small dollar contributions? Are we going to unilaterally disarm and not take any more corporate money? But when it comes to things like, I don't know, taking political power and seizing it, we'll outsource it to the independent commission and functionally unilaterally disarm as the Republicans do this. Like, that speaks so much to the issues with the party that are hopefully starting to change. But, you know, we're behind on this, and it's the Democrats' fault for being weak and Pollyannish, to put it mildly.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.